Here's what you need to know.
From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
Hey there, Rose City. It is 3 o'clock on a nice blue sky-filled afternoon, and we have plenty of sports to get to as always. First, lots of confusion in Major League Baseball. Is he not? That is Shohei Ohtani. Some reports saying the most coveted free agent in the game right now is ready to sign a deal with Toronto. Others saying he's not even in Toronto. He's not signing a deal, but all eyes are on him and his big secretive offseason. Whoever gets him is going to get one of the best in baseball. Also, there's some reports that Florida State may be looking to leave the ACC to join the Big Ten. News on that could be coming soon. That could be a shocker. And on the Ducks front, star cornerback Kyrie Jackson has declared for the NFL draft. Not too shocking. He had a great one-year run with the Ducks. Chris Burkhardt filling in for Chad doing today. Got the Godfather with me for the next hour and a half. And then Game Day comes at you right here on Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio.
absolutely crazy. But that secrecy is leading to a lot of rumors, and you can't really believe what is out there because it's all over the place. But right now, the rumors are leaning really, really hard into Shohei Ohtani being the next big catch for the Toronto Blue Jays. And my gut reaction is, why?
Yeah, Jeff Passan has been reporting for the last 2 or 3 hours that he's on a flight headed for Toronto. And just in the last half hour, Bob Nightingale, another very respected baseball writer, has reported that Shohei Ohtani is at home in Southern California and has no plans to go to Toronto today. I don't know what's right. All I know is all the choices he has, and he would pick Toronto. I don't get that one, Chris. I don't think Toronto is a place that I would elect to go in his situation. In fact, he likes SoCal. It's close. It's about as close to his home, his real home, as you can get in this country. Weather's great. Team is great. Team has a lot of money. Great ballpark. What more could you ask for than the Dodgers?
Right.
Why would you want to go anywhere but to the Dodgers unless you wanted to stay with the Angels, which I think, not a great ball club, but he's been there a while. I could understand him saying, I just wanted to test the waters a little bit. I'm staying. And that would be great for the Angels and great for the American League, I'm sure. But Toronto, I don't get. The taxes would eat him up with that big salary, and not good weather, tough travel.
Retractable roof, though.
Yeah, I know, but you got to get to the ballpark, and you got to hang around all day doing something else. And a lot of the winter is not fun in Toronto, at least in my opinion. And he's been living.
I say you and I've been there in the winter.
Yes, we have, and he's been living in Southern California for a while now.
It's a lot different.
He's going to find out North America can be a lot different. North America can be a lot different than that. I just don't get it, Chris. It doesn't seem, and their team is good, but not. They're not the Dodgers. I'll tell you that.
And it's crazy to me because I think if you're Shohei and you've been with the Angels now your entire career, and the Angels just a dumpster fire because there's zero reason to have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and be bad. Hey, we have two of the greatest players of this generation, one of the best, in my opinion, to ever play the game, in Shohei Ohtani, and you can't even get out of your own division? Like, what are you doing? So winning should matter for Shohei, right? You want to experience that, and the Dodgers make sense. The thing with the Blue Jays is the best young team in that division, and I say this as a Red Sox fan, so I see a lot of AL East ball. The best young team in that division, without question, is the Baltimore Orioles.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
For some reason, Tampa Bay always plays well, too, right now. Now you got the Yankees, who, with Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, everybody else dumping in money. Like you said yesterday, I think you made a good point. I think that organization is understanding that we need to be more of the Steinbrenner era Yankees.
Yeah, they got to get back to being the Yankees, the Bronx Bombers.
Right now, Dwight, again, Red Sox fan, so I love the rivalry. I get it. But right now, the Yankees are the Yankees. And that's a bad thing. Because in the 90s and the early 2000s, the Yankees were the evil empire.
Yeah.
Right? And they came by that nickname, honestly. They earned that. And that's what they're trying to get back to. So you got the bottom two teams probably in that division are the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. Now, are the Blue Jays better if they sign Shohei Ohtani? No, without question. But you still have to run through the gauntlet of what might be the best division in baseball.
Yeah, and, there's even some argument. I would say, and I heard Steve Phillips today. He was with Dan Patrick today. And Steve, the former general manager of the New York Mets, he was saying he would not sign Ohtani. He's been protected as a starting pitcher, really, ever since he got to the Angels, and he's still having his second elbow surgery. So you wonder in the future, is being a two-way player, is that in the cards for him? Can he continue to do that? Maybe, but maybe not. And we know at least for next year, he's DH only. That means he can't help you in the field, and he will hit, but that's it. And so you even have to wonder, that price tag he wants, that $500 million, is it DH Is a DH worth that kind of money? I'm not sure he is, particularly with the arm problems, meaning maybe if that surgery isn't great, he won't pitch again. Or maybe if the surgery isn't good at all, if the surgery isn't good, maybe he can't even play the outfield anymore. And he's a pretty good outfielder. But if he can't play the outfield because of his arm, then he's just a DH. He's a one-way player. You're taking a chance with him.
Yeah,
you are.
And I'm not discounting him in the least because I think his numbers bear out.
Oh, he's
a really good pitcher when he is on the mound.
Yeah.
But he also plays at Angel Stadium, which is a fairly wide open, pitcher friendly park. Like balls don't leave that place that often, right?
Yeah.
And you got to think if you're going to go play for the Blue Jays, that means you have to pitch more games than you've ever pitched at Yankee Stadium, which might be the most hitter friendly park in existence with the way that thing was built. Again, Fenway and the monster, and then the short fence out and right. Like, yeah, well, how are those pitching numbers going to look in the long run? But I think that's interesting because I do know people say that he might be a bit of a risk, but it's one of those things, man. He's so good, it's hard to say no, right?
Yeah, it is.
Like to me, I mean, I think he's up there with the best to ever play the game. What he does. He's so good on the mound. He's so good in the field, so good at the bat. The thing is, he would have benefited from not being a multi-tool player and just be a DH and a hitter. I think that's his best asset. His mechanics, for my money, are the best mechanics in the game.
Yeah. Phillips made a point, too. He said maybe right now his body's telling him no more two-way player, no more pitching and hitting at the same time, none of that anymore. And I think that's a valid point when you're having that elbow surgery again. He's had Tommy John already. Nobody's quite sure if he's had another Tommy John or something similar. So there's a possibility, and you don't know. And that's why somebody wrote, too, even if he agreed to terms today, the physical exam on that guy is probably going to be very detailed. Yeah. Before you give him that kind of money, you have to have a real close look at all the MRIs, X-rays, everything, just to make sure.
Yeah, like I said, this isn't the NFL where the guy signs a $100 million deal, but really isn't ever going to see $100 million, right?
Yeah.
Baseball is guaranteed money, and you got to be careful with how you throw it around. Still weird to me because I thought the three best teams for him were the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Mariners. They were my dark horse. The Blue Jays,
West Coast teams.
Yeah, Blue Jays. Did not see this one coming. We'll monitor it, though, as news keeps flooding through.
Look at Shacker picking up an Eagles song. He's all over it.
Shacker knows what he's doing, man.
He definitely does.
Knows what he's doing. All right, I got to take a quick break here on the drive. When we come back, it's time to talk about the IST, also known as the in-season tournament.
Yes.
It's got a lot of question marks right now. Chris Burkhardt here with Dwight Jaynes on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Grab your VIP pass to the table where the big NFL conversations happen with the new show, Schrager's NFL Roundtable. Join Peter Schrager, the insightful voice of NFL Network and Fox Sports, each week as he opens up his notebook and shares the inside scoop on the latest developments in the world of football. But that's not all. This podcast goes beyond the headlines. Peter is joined by a distinguished guest list featuring decision makers, power brokers, and celebrity football fans, creating a dynamic roundtable discussion that takes you beyond the surface of the game. Get ready to be in the know and at the heart of the action with Schrager's NFL Roundtable every week on the iHeart Radio app. Rip City Radio and Holt Homes want to pay your mortgage or rent in 2024. Went up to $18,000 to help offset those monthly payments in the Home for Holidays sweepstakes. Enter today at ripcityradio.com, powered by Holt Homes, built for the Pacific Northwest.
It's Rip City Drive on 620 Rip City Radio. Brought to you by Lazy Boy. What's your strategy for comfort? Listen on your free iHeart Radio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
There's some copyright infringement there. That intro totally sounded like Triple H's theme song by Motorhead. That's what I thought it was at first. Like, oh, we get to hear it 2 days in a row.
Yeah, because we did hear it yesterday, didn't we? Yeah, I think we let it go without comment too. Did we say anything about it?
No, we didn't, because we had talked a bunch about WWE before that. But
right, yeah.
I like to throw a little living color in there, cult of personality now and then. Just for you, every once in a while, I played Judas by Fozzy.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
Gotta mix it up. Shacker, you guys send me. I don't even know who this is. You guys send it to me. I need to know who this is. I'm gonna do some sleuthing, some investigating. All right, Dwight, let's talk about that in-season tournament. It's a doozy. First off, yesterday in the middle of the show, you and I both watched the game. I think it was tied about, I think it was like 75, 76, 76, 76, right in that range. It was 1 point game, tie game, and there was a quarter left, and you looked at me and you're like, oh man, Pacers aren't going to stay in this one much longer, because we both expected the Bucks to flex. But Tyrese Halliburton, have yourself a game. He went off. The Pacers get the upset. They advance. And then in the game after that, it was an absolute dominating performance from the Lakers. They won 133-89 over to the Pelicans to set up the finals of the in-season tournament. Now the Lakers versus the Pacers. And before we get into the nitty-gritty, and mainly I think it's Zion who's getting all the headlines today. Just what are your takeaways?
For all the wrong reasons.
For all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I want to know what your takeaways from this game or these games are. First off, I want to ask you, did the Kings trade the wrong point guard? Because Tyrese Halliburton is what they got. They traded to get Sabonis, and I think right now Halliburton's playing like an all-star, and De'Aaron Fox is just a really, really good point guard.
Yeah, there's a difference. Halliburton's better. There's no question about it. Such a good defender. He's just terrific, and there's no ceiling right now that we can see. He continues to improve at both ends of the floor. He's a generational player, it appears. And you talk about a guy that caught people by surprise, Chris. I had no idea. And you tell me, I have no idea where the guy went to college. Do you?
Halliburton, off the top of my head, I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't pay attention to
a
ton
you're
of
the
college
Google
ball.
master. Why don't you look it
I
up
am the
for us?
Google master. I'll figure it out within 2 seconds. But, I don't pay attention to a lot of college ball, though, because I don't like the college game.
If you've been around the NBA long enough, you don't watch a lot of college basketball.
In my head, I was close, but I was wrong. I wanted to say Iowa, but he went to Iowa State. So I was close, but I was wrong.
So he played for a big-time college juggernaut.
What is it with these? What is it with these Iowa State guys?
I mean,
Tyrese Halliburton, the great underappreciated Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, guys.
That's a couple of Mr. Irrelevance almost right there.
That's an interesting one for sure. But no, he had himself a game. He's playing incredible, and a lot of talk right now with like MVP and this and that. No, I don't think he is the MVP right now. Personally, I think if he continues his run, I think Luka is this season's MVP.
Yeah.
He's playing unbelievable
Can't
ball.
wait to watch him tonight.
But Tyrese Halliburton, he's in the conversation without a doubt.
Well, it's kind of interesting too, Chris. I think a lesson to be learned here. Two of the best young point guards in the league right now are Tyrese Halliburton and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Two guys who didn't go number one in the draft. Two guys who tribute to scouting, to taking a chance on a player that maybe isn't getting the kind of publicity or the hoopla that other guys are getting. Two very, very good players.
Both guys who were traded because this other team thought the All-Star would benefit them the most. SGA, remember, he was a Clipper. And it's funny because sometimes it's not always greener. I think it's kind of like you talked about a little bit yesterday, kind of that same thing, like a lot of people who are just so intent on you have to trade Anthony Simons, right?
Be careful.
Because, I mean, SGA was good in L.A. You could see that he was going to be something good. Like he wasn't who he is now, but you could see the writing on the wall. but they're like, nope, we want Paul George. That's what's – and Paul George hasn't really equated to a ton of winning for them because that team can't stay healthy, as where SGA has Oklahoma playing incredibly good basketball over the last few years. And same thing, Tyrese Halliburton. Yes, Sabonis and Halliburton is a little different because Sabonis did help the Kings break that playoff drought.
Yeah. And they have De'Aaron Fox, so you say,
and they do have De'Aaron Fox, who's still good. When I say maybe they traded the wrong guard, that's not a knock on Fox because I still think Fox is a really good point guard. But Tyrese Halliburton is playing at an all-star MVP level right now, and look at how good the Pacers are because of it.
And it's funny, you mentioned Paul George. You know, one of the great skills in the NBA in terms of making deals is not who you trade for, but knowing just the right time to get rid of a good player.
Yeah.
And Paul George is a great example of that. He was absolutely terrific in OKC. And, I mean, he was real good in Indiana too, but terrific in OKC. And then hasn't really reached that territory with the Clippers. Been hurt, in and out of the lineup, having to share the ball with Kawhi Leonard. For various reasons, not the same player, really.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah. Oh, he's not. I mean, he's still good, but there was a real moment in time where he impacted the game in every level when he was on the court.
Floor. That's right.
And he still impacts it, but just not to the same degree.
Yeah.
Kind of like we were talking about yesterday, like Draymond Green is still really good, and you could see the difference with the Warriors when he's on the floor versus off, but he's not the Draymond Green of 2018 or earlier. So, yeah, sometimes knowing when to let go of the star at the right time makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the great basketball experts I know real well, my wife, was watching Draymond the other night when they played the Blazers, and she said, not as good as he used to be. And she's right. He's still a really good player.
He's still really good.
Yeah, he is. He's still a really good player, but not the dominating force he was there for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, sometimes people like to call me, certain people, mainly my podcast co-hosts, like they call me the master of segues. I always lean into them really good.
Yeah.
However, you're an expert in this thing too, so you get little hints out to where we're going to go without even saying it. And that was, sometimes you need to know when to let go of a good player before it's too late. So I bring that up because is New Orleans going to regret not moving off of Zion Williamson because he is getting all the publicity and all the headlines for all the wrong reasons right now?
Yeah.
Not at least, to be fair, I'm going to not say all the wrong reasons because he's not getting the headlines for the same reasons that a Miles Bridges was or a Ja Morant was. He's getting the headlines because he's out of shape. Right. But this is a guy that you invested in. You take with the number one pick. He's going to be your guy. And the thing is, we've all seen it. He's really, really good when he's engaged. But the body and his own self-discipline might be working against him.
Chris, it's a sad story, really, because he has so much talent, so explosive. And he's never quite been the same player that he was in college. And part of that is not being in shape. Part of it, I think, from what I understand, is not working at his game as hard. He's one of those guys that when he got the big money, his focus shifted a little bit. But that franchise has so much invested in him. It's just such a shame. They've done so many things to try to get him going. And I know their general manager, David Griffin, I've known, for a couple of decades. He used to be an assistant PR guy in Phoenix, and that's where I first met him. And great guy. He's very, very good at his job. They've made some very astute trades, fleeced some teams pretty well. But you're right, Chris. It's probably about time to say maybe somebody else can unlock this guy, but we don't have the key. And I thought about, we talked a lot about this last year when the Damian Lillard trade was being talked about and said, if you're Portland, would you take a flyer on this guy and think, well, maybe we can be the team to turn him around,
right?
Get him into shape, because if you get him thinned down, if you get him into shape, he's an all-star. He's a tremendous player. And we saw just a hint of that the one year when, remember when a couple of years ago when New Orleans got off to that great start, he was healthy. He had shed some weight. He was fantastic. And the Blazers, I think, played him twice during that time, and he just killed them. I mean, he was he was impossible to stop. And
He needs I'm not calling for the trade to either of these locations, but he needs a Greg Popovich or an Eric Spoelstra, a guy who's known for being that hard ass who kind of gets what he wants and will look you dead in the eye and say, no.
yeah.
You need to be in the gym taking care of business because we need you.
Or maybe a strength and conditioning coach that can get to him. You know, there's that guy occasionally that can kind of impress upon you the value of being in that weight room and doing the cardio and all the things you need to do. It's just going to take a special person, though, to communicate with him. I mean, remember, it was summer before last. He spent the summer in Portland rehabilitating his injury, and there were all kinds of stories leaking out about him sneaking out in the middle of the night to get food and everything. Because they put him out here on Lake Oswego in a rental house somewhere, and he had a chef, a nutritionist, a weight trainer, all the stuff he needed, but he was sneaking out and getting food. We'd hear stories about him being in some 7-Eleven in the middle of the night, you know?
I'll tell you, and Chad and I have talked about it from my history doing bodybuilding competitions back in the day. Right now, my body is in Zion mode, okay? Some people say bulking, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm not getting paid like Zion to have,
exactly.
have a Ferrari for a body every single day.
You can do this job 20 pounds overweight.
Yeah, exactly.
Or 50 pounds overweight.
Yeah, we're not going to put a number on it, okay?
Right.
But my point is even when I was doing fitness competitions and you had to be dialed in with your diet and all that, I always made the joke. It's like the hardest part about this is food prep yourself. Taking my personal time to get all the food made.
Yeah.
And this. If you had a personal chef,
I know.
It's easy for me to want to run down to 7-Eleven, grab a snack. Back in college, Slurpees all the time, right? Or just, okay, I don't want to cook tonight. I'm gonna go out to Killer Burger, get a burger, right? Shout out Killer Burger, your burgers are phenomenal.
Yeah.
But if I had a chef, I'm like, yeah, I don't need to go anywhere. Can you make me that Killer Burger? And then the chef puts the health spin on it.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
good to go. I would
They
never
can
be
make
leaving to go
things
get a
that-
snack.
Yeah, Chris, they can make things that taste really good, that are good for you.
Yeah.
And that's the advantage that you have when you have the kind of money he has or an organization behind you that's willing to spend the money for you, and you don't take advantage of that.
Well, I'll tell you that when you hear those stories of LeBron James spends hundreds of millions of dollars a year on his body, and Russell Wilson,
Well,
same.
most of that's PEDs, but go ahead.
Yes, those are not inexpensive, but a lot of that is the chefs, because those guys don't come cheap. And again, they're the best at what they do. They know how to cook, man.
A good portion of these Blazer players for the last several years have had personal chefs. Dame always had one. CJ had one. They shared one, I think, at times. But a lot of the players now feel it's important to do that to make sure they're nutritionally sound and healthy.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there is just having a naturally pudgy body. Okay, now I'm one. It's in my blood. It's an island thing.
Short legs, I can identify.
I always laughed at like BJ Penn. Like BJ Penn would cut weight for a fight, and he'd still have those Hawaiian love handles. I get them too. It's like I said, it's in the blood, right? Nikola Jokic. Everyone picks on him for being pudgy. Now he's bigger. That's just how his body's built, but it doesn't hinder his game. Zion is built like a tank, but he's not putting the right gas in it, right? Like it needs to run on premium or something, and he's just rolling with unleaded, and it's actively hurting him, and it's weird to me.
I said this from the first time I saw him in person, which was in the Vegas Summer League, where he played about 5 minutes and got hurt. He's too explosive for that weight. Some guys could be that heavy, and there have been some in the league that have played that heavy and been fine. But he's so explosive, his knees, his legs, they're not going to hold up with that much weight. He's the most explosive player I think I've ever seen. When he's
up there, yeah.
Fit and in he's unbelievable when he's in shape. But you can't be that explosive and not expect your knees to just blow up on you.
Yeah, that's tough. And like you said, sometimes when you talk about maybe we could be the team that could unlock that, and I think there are teams that could. And I kind of think Yusuf Nurkic, right? Because when Yusuf Nurkic came to Portland, he was a little thicker. He was a little out of shape. And then everyone dogged him for the last few years. Like he could stand to lose a little bit. I'm not going to lie, and maybe I'm alone. I always thought that was just the TV doing him an injustice because in person and being in the locker room, by year 2, like he had slimmed down, put muscle on, kind of reshaped his body to a healthier body to play on the court. The whole leg thing had nothing to do with him being out of shape or having too much weight on his frame or anything. That was just a freak accident. But I always thought like he did a good job of kind of refining that diet, refining his workout regimen for his body and getting in playing shape.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. And most guys do. You know, you see a lot of rooks come into the league, rookies, who don't really understand all that. They're eating junk food all the time. They're notorious for that, you know.
They got that metabolism still.
Well, and they've been to college where they didn't have the money to eat well in a lot of cases. And so they did the thing we all did. They go to 7-Eleven in the middle of the night, or they stop at the fast food joint and pick up a drive-through. So that's what they do. But they get in the league. If they're here a year or two, they figure it out quick.
Yeah.
They do. They figure it out real quick, and Zion never has. And it leads you to believe maybe he doesn't care as much about playing professional basketball as some other guys do. And that's common. People don't understand. I hear this all the time. GMs say, well, yeah, we would have taken him, but we're not sure he likes basketball. And I've heard that about a couple of guys from around here. Not sure he likes basketball enough to really get good, because you better love it in this league because you think you're good coming in. To stay in the league, you got to work pretty hard.
There are a lot of people who view basketball, even at the NBA level, as just a job. I mean, and it is at the end of the day. I mean, your two-time MVP acts like that. Jokic acts like basketball's a 9 to 5. He clocks out. Doesn't like the fact that they won a title because they ate into his summer. He's just really good.
Yeah.
The thing is, there's very few Jokic's and a lot of all the other guys whose overall talent isn't good enough to keep them in the league without having some sort of drive. And that's not even a knock on Jokic. Like, he has drive to be good. That's what got him here, but he still views it as a job versus I have to play basketball. It defines me.
Yeah, and I think the thing about him that separates him is his drive to win. I think he has to win. He gets out there. He doesn't show it a lot, but he normally comes up ahead on the scoreboard, and he's all about winning. And that makes up for the other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely does. I'm gonna have to go at it with the YouTube chat here today. They're really irritating me. I'm gonna have to set parameters, and that parameter is don't be talking about food in the chat unless you're willing to drop some of these recipes. Okay, got people talking about making Rice Krispie treats or something. Now we got chili talk and pizza talk. Like I'm gonna don't be talking about chili unless you're willing to put down the recipe in that chat or send it to Chris Burkhardt at iHeart Radio. give me the. I want recipes, fam. I'm down to try a fan made chili. Chili's great this time of year, by the way.
No,
oh
I
my
love
gosh,
chili. It's the best.
We told you Shacker's the best. Judas right now by Fozzy.
That is fuzzy, isn't it?
Also, people hate on Chris Jericho and stuff. Fozzy does have some good stuff.
Yeah,
Tell you what, do like me some Fozzy. Speaking of Fozzy, if you don't know who that is a band headlined by professional wrestler Chris Jericho, who used to be in the WWE. And we're going to give away tickets in the 4 o'clock hour, so don't go anywhere. And when we come back, plenty of more to talk about. Yeah, Blazers coming up. A crazy little football game that happened in the NFL last night.
Wow.
Duck news. We got plenty. Chris Burkhardt here with the Godfather, Dwight Jaynes, on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, and we are simply having a commercial-free sing-along time. Open the free iHeart Radio app and indulge in exclusive one-of-a-kind holiday stations and playlists for every joyful mood. Get a head start on the nice list. Open your free iHeart Radio app and search iHeart Holiday.
You're listening to the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad on 620 Rip City Radio. Brought to you by Lazy Boy. What's your strategy for comfort? Listen on your free iHeart Radio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
There we go. Now the YouTube chat's getting it. Tony said he's going to send me his wife's chili recipe to my ex account.
After you scolded them, Chris, what do you expect?
It wasn't really scolding.
You put them on blast.
It was lighthearted fun.
Okay.
It was more like, I like what you guys are posting. You're making me hungry. I'm going to need the recipes because I'm going to go have to cook. I do a lot of the cooking at our house, not because my wife doesn't like to or isn't good at it. She's a great cook. I just really enjoy cooking.
Do you really?
I really do. I'm like, man, I might have tried to be a chef or something if I wasn't into this sports gig thing.
I hope Nancy's not listening to this part. She's very upset with me not liking and not wanting to learn how to cook more.
Oh, I love cooking.
No interest at all in it.
My dad always laughs at me because he'll come over for food, and I have what, a 5-burner gas stove. I'll have something on each one. I'm grabbing the pans, flipping stuff, like not even. Oh yeah, he's like, oh my gosh, you're killing that thing. How do you do that? I'm like, I just love cooking, Dad. Like, I don't know why. I love it. So that's why I want the recipes. Guys make me hungry. The chat's awesome today. So that's all. Now they're talking about fasting. They're going to send us the recipes for that. Of course, it is a hot take. Fritz over here, he says that Christmas has good food, probably number 3 behind Turkey Day and 4th of July. We've already had this conversation. Turkey Day is the most overrated meal of the holiday meals. Not a big fan.
Disagree.
I like the food.
I disagree.
I like the food, but they're all just side dishes. Nothing stands out to me except grandma's stuffing. Grandma's stuffing's amazing.
You don't like turkey?
I do. I just think turkey in general is overrated because people only eat it on Thanksgiving.
Well, it's the only time you can afford it.
Oh, no.
God, turkey's expensive. And it takes you forever to cook it. You put it in like in the, 3 o'clock in the morning so it'll be ready later on in the day.
Hey, patience, Dwight, okay? Because a good brisket, that's going to take a day. A good prime rib, that's going to take half your day. Low and slow is the way to go. And I'm not dogging anyone who likes Turkey Day. You like what you like. Just from my personal hierarchy, it's low. Yeah. However, it's like let's just put it this way, okay? Like if I was grading them like you would school, it's like Christmas gets an A. I love 4th of July, even though it's simple food because it's just nice, wholesome barbecue. The vibes are good. That's like an A. And then the bottom is like Thanksgiving, which I give like a B plus. Like it's the bottom of my list, but I ain't giving it a failing grade because the food is great. I just think it's a little overrated.
Yeah,
that's all. Hot food takes on this show.
It is amazing today. We're talking way too much about food.
There's no such thing. What is it? What is it when I fill in for Chad? How many times you and I have gotten down the rabbit hole of our favorite places to eat on the road, favorite restaurants we wish Portland had? You know what it is? It's because you and I used to travel together all the time for work, and we spent a lot of time in various restaurants and eating meals together, and we judge our food harshly, and we have our opinions.
I posted on another sort of social media area last week when I stopped for lunch at Shake Shack and got immediate reaction out of Peter Sokach, and I think you too.
Yeah, you sent us. We knew where you're at.
Yeah.
We knew where you're at. Oh, man, we had our spots, that's for sure. Now, back to sports, since everyone's here for that, and thank you, chat, for giving us great content. You guys and girls are absolutely awesome out there. Have your takes on Thanksgiving, because there is no wrong take. It's still great food. But the Christmas food is, I like the Christmas food. Give me the prime ribs. All right, now, let's talk a little bit football, Dwight, because we were going to do it yesterday, and we just, got busy talking about just everything else under the sun. And we laughed when we were kind of prepping the show, and you're like, we kind of got to talk about this NFL game because it might be one of the worst ones on Thursday Night Football in a long time. 2 real bad teams. And then you sit here, and you're like, there's no way Pittsburgh can go lose this game, right? Like the Patriots are rolling out Bailey Zappi, and their defense is lackluster. The offense is worse. I mean, their defense is okay, but the offense can't score anything. And then they go out and they beat the Steelers on Thursday night. Like what? the heck happened?
What did I tell you yesterday? Every time Chad and I say it's going to be a bad game, it's not.
You did say that.
Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah, it was a decent enough game given who was playing in the game. And I did not expect either team to score that many points. I mean, Zappe was he was pretty okay. You know, he did a good job, and I was kind of happy to see New England win because I don't want to see the Steelers in the playoffs. They just don't belong there. I don't want to see them in the playoffs, and they got to take a few more losses because they're in the playoff picture. So we got to get them out of there.
They're sitting what? It's 7-6 right now, and yeah, they're in the picture. And you're right. I mean, without Pickett, and who hasn't been great either way. Like a team with Mitch Trubisky getting in right now would be weird. He's not great. I mean, 22 of 35, 190 yards. So it's not like he was slinging it. And Zappe's had some interesting moments. Probably a good end up going to be like the way of the Derek Anderson, right? Like he's going to get his spots as a starter, have a good little spot there, and then make a great career as a long-term backup somewhere just because he's good enough to play.
Yeah.
But
Anderson made the Pro Bowl one here.
No, that's what I'm saying. But what I meant was once he had the point where his skills were no longer an everyday starter, he was still good enough to carve out a nice career as a backup for a long time. Or maybe Zappe's more like a Kellen Clemens, because Kellen Clemens was in the league way longer than anyone actually thinks he was, because he was just a good backup. But yeah, the Patriots go do Patriot things and beat the Steelers. The NFL is weird. The NFL is also a weird sport, though, man, because I think more so than any of the other sports, the worst team can go beat the best team on almost any given Sunday, because the gaps are there, but they're not huge. Like the gap between like the Bucks and the Nuggets and like the Lakers and the Spurs, that's a huge gap.
Yeah.
That's a huge gap. The gap between like the Eagles and the 49ers, yeah, they're two of the best teams in the league right now, but the gap between them and the teams that have 4 wins, it's not as big as the gap in some other sports, is what I think.
Yeah, I agree. That's true.
Because I've seen a lot of games where you're like, oh, this team is 0-15, and there's no way. And then they go out and just throttle someone, or 0-10, and then they just go out and throttle someone. Because if you get hot on a Sunday, you got studs. Like,
yeah,
the NFL is a crazy, crazy little gig. But yeah, didn't see that one coming. Thought the Steelers were going to handle business.
Well, there's some teams this year that just flat out can't score. and it's crazy. You just don't want to see. I mean, it's like the Jets. I mean, goodness sakes. Of course, they have a bad offensive coordinator, and we've spent plenty of time talking about that. But there's no way people want to go see your games if you can't score.
Yeah,
that's a priority.
Not in today's game.
Hey, you can lose 35-31 a lot before people are going to get dissatisfied. But you start losing 10-3 and 13-6. Those are not good losses.
The food conversation on the YouTube chat has now gone on to Applebee's in respect of Brian No.
Oh, my.
There's a couple people. Brian No is not the only one. Friend of the show, Jamie Hudson, her husband. Oh, man.
Mike?
He stands over Applebee's, old John. He loves Applebee's. I'm not a big Applebee's guy.
He's a Shake Shack guy, too.
Oh, he is.
In-and-out guy.
Yeah. Brian, no, he's an Applebee guy, too.
Yeah.
Got to get him back on. Maybe we'll see what he's doing next week. But I love how the YouTube chat, they just know everybody. They know what makes us tick. They're pretty good at that. And if you want to join the YouTube chat, I keep talking about it because it's pretty good vibes over there. Go on the YouTube, type in Rip City Radio, get in on the chat. If you want to join the conversation with us, 503-248-0620. And remember that number, because coming up in the next hour, we're going to give away tickets to WWE Monday Night Raw. They're making a stop at the Moda Center on January 8th. When we come back, we're going to talk a little Blazers, though. I got to get Dwight's perspective on this game before he heads out. Chris Burkhardt here with the Godfather, Dwight Jaynes, on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Here's what you need to know.
From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 4 o'clock here in the Rose City, and we got plenty of sports to get to. Some big news around the world going on right now, though, especially in Major League Baseball, where international star Shohei Ohtani is being rumored to have a deal in the works to sign his free agency deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. Don't know how many people saw that coming. However, there are conflicting reports. Some people saying he is not in Toronto and no deal is imminent for the Angels free agent. So we will keep an eye on that one. In basketball, the Lakers throttled the New Orleans Pelicans and the Pacers upset the Bucks, both to advance to the finals of the in-season tournament. So that should be a big one, a feather under LeBron's cap if he wins that bad boy. And in college football, Ducks star cornerback Kyrie Jackson announced that he will be entering the NFL draft. Not a shock because he is one talented player. Hour 2 of the drive starts now.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio.
Crash might have been the greatest thing ever because he had to change his wrestling style because of it, and it gave him some longevity and just it made him different, made him special.
Yeah.
Imagine if WCW billed him as Spartacus like they wanted to.
Yeah. Okay, let me give you a controversial take.
Okay,
Charlotte Flair.
she's on your Mount
I
Rushmore.
think she's the greatest female wrestler ever. Tremendous athlete.
I don't know if that's a hot take, man.
Really?
She's changed the game for female wrestlers.
She sure has.
She's changed the game. She made them help. Well, I mean, the four horsemen of women's wrestling and WWE all helped that. And there's some great runs along the way. But, like, you feel bad for, like, the Medusas and the Luna Vachons of the world who were legit in-ring performers in a time where they weren't that many of them to begin with. Then the Attitude Era set women's wrestling back about 2 decades because it took until now to be taken respectfully. But Charlotte Flair, I can get that.
I think she just, you said, changed the game. Absolutely. She took it up another level by being so athletic, and it led to a lot of other athletes choosing to do wrestling that probably never even thought about it before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would take her. Then, and then just personal choice from somebody I watched a lot growing up, Maurice Mad Dog Vachon.
There you go.
Did you ever see the Mad Dog?
Never watched him, no.
Oh, my gosh. Scary. Real scary. And Dono, the ex-promoter here, who's long gone now, he told me once that Vachon is the guy he would bring in if he was having trouble with a wrestler and the guy wasn't showing up or he wasn't doing what he's supposed to do. And he would throw the Mad Dog into the ring with this guy, and it would be nasty. Because Mad Dog was like a legit tough guy.
Okay.
He would
like
give somebody a pounding in the ring. And he'd bring him in just for that.
There's a couple guys who shoot pretty hard on you, right?
Yeah. He's really
I guess
tough.
I'd have to go new school. Didn't watch enough of those, but Stone Cold's on mine. He was great.
Stone Cold, yeah, that's a good choice for sure.
I think The Undertaker's on mine because he made his character that shouldn't have worked in wrestling work for as long as it did.
Yeah,
and for being 7 feet tall.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that route. I think Kurt Angle would be one. That, I mean, I was there when he won his gold medal in the Olympics.
You were at every historical event. I told this to Chad the other day, and I meant this in the nicest way. You're the Forrest Gump of sports. Like, you remember in the movie Forrest Gump, he is at every historical event imaginable.
Yeah.
And the more I talk to you and get out of you were at like every historical sporting event imaginable.
Well, I had the job that allowed me to pick and choose. So, as a columnist at the Oregonian in those days, when the Oregonian had money to spend to send me wherever I wanted to go, that's, I got lucky.
See, I think Kirk went with like this personal favorite too on one of these. He went Hulk, Flair, Piper, and then Mr. T.
Yeah. See, I know everybody wants to put Hulk on there. I can't put him on because he really wasn't a wrestler.
He was really bad in the ring.
Yeah, he was terrible in the ring. He was a sideshow.
Let's make a dude who's 6'4", 6'5", make a leg drop. His
leg drop. He was
Rip City Radio, which is also codenamed Michael Shacker, says Crash Holly.
Oh yeah, right.
But Spike Dudley.
Yeah, right. Hulk really was entrance music. That was it.
Yeah.
The entrance music was great.
He knew how to hype a crowd, though, man.
Yeah.
A special level. But if I was going with just modern wrestling guys, because I wasn't around for I was around for NWO Hogan, but I think Chris Jericho's on the modern Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
To be in WCW, to wrestle in Japan, to be in AEW, to be in WWE, to hold titles in all of those, I think he's a great ambassador to the sport. Now, the only reason I bring up wrestling with you to start the segment, because there's probably a lot of people going, what the heck are they talking wrestling about? That's because there are wrestling fans out there. I know it. And if you want to go to see wrestling when they come to town in just a few weeks, all you got to do is be caller number 5 right now, 503-248-0620. Caller number 5, 503-248-0620. And you will be the winner of a pair of tickets to go see Monday Night Raw, January 8th at the Moda Center. That is caller number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's Michael Shacker over there, just making sure you can hear me. Caller number 5, Michael Shacker. There you go. 503-248-0620. Get yourself a pair of tickets to go see WWE Monday Night Raw. You got to go see it because the Godfather's going to be there. I'm going to be there. We're going to have some fun.
It's obviously the place to be that night.
Oh, it's obviously the place to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be.
What else are you going to do on a Monday night, right?
I don't know. Watch football or.
Yeah, there is that.
I've heard it's going to be a good show. Judging by the chat and the way the lines lit up, we got wrestling fans tuning in, so that's good. That's good. Hope they put on a good show. I was disappointed in SmackDown when they came last time. It was my least favorite show I've seen in person. It was not good.
I love it. Tony K, come on now. I may be dating myself, but I'm going with Hacksaw Jim Duncan. Now, if the guy is your favorite, get his name right. It wasn't Duncan. It was Duggan.
I'm going with the Pebble and Quadruple H, the Underfaker. Hacksaw Jim Duncan.
Duncan, yeah.
Hacksaw. You could have at least made it make sense within the chat and said Hacksaw Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Duggan was good though.
Yeah, he was all right, but another gimmick guy.
The only thing that hurt Duggan for me is in his prime, he was really good. He was good in the ring, had a good character. And then as he aged, he just became the with a 2x4, and there was no
thumbs up in the air.
Yeah, there was nothing else to the character. It was just that.
But Vince turned a lot of characters into, he had to have a tow truck driver. He had to have all these guys. He gave them these stupid jobs and turned them into cartoon characters. I didn't like that. He did that for a long time.
Where do you put this guy who nowadays only has about 2 moves, but they're vicious? But where do you put Brock Lesnar?
Well, obviously, he was able to win a belt in MMA, so
He was really good as a
so
heavyweight. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
I think he was better in MMA than he was in
Well, then he had that bout of diverticulitis.
yeah.
And if he wouldn't have had that, he probably, I don't know, he might not have come back to WWE because he would have had no reason to leave UFC.
Right.
So,
Yeah, Brock was all right. He's upper tier, I think. Just never quite was good on the mic. He always needed Paul Heyman to
who's one of
help
the
him
greatest.
on the mic.
I also like Randy Orton. I think he's fun.
Yeah, longevity there.
Yeah.
He's been around a long time.
All right, Dwight. We could talk Blazers, but there's only a few seconds in this segment. Let's go back to that in-season tournament real quick.
Yeah.
They are pumping this bad thing up.
Oh.
Tyrese Halliburton in the post-game press conference talking about how, I grew up loving LeBron, so getting a chance to play for a championship against him. Play for it? What? Like, are we really thinking? Like,
It's crazy.
my question
It's
is...
not the championship of anything.
It's not. And my question is, like, do these guys really enjoy this tournament? Or have they been, like, has the boss man said, hey, when you're out there, we can't have any, if you think we fine you for talking bad against the refs, like.
Chris, I am convinced that these guys were all told, they all got the word, you do not knock this tournament. You got to come out and say you enjoy it. It's great. This is the line that they're going to use. It's the party line. And,
I think so.
it's like LeBron. Oh, man, Adam Silver's a genius. When everybody's got the video of him 2 years ago saying, whoever thought of this thing ought to be fired. That's what he said 2 years ago. And now he's a genius for thinking of it.
Yeah, because he has a chance to win something.
Yeah, well, they gave him the easiest pathway to get to Vegas in the first place. and the pool that they played in was like 8 of the worst teams in the West. But they wanted him there. They got him there. That's what they wanted. Now, they wanted him against the Bucks or the Celtics, and they didn't get that.
Yeah.
But they got Halliburton, and they're going to pump him up real good.
Yeah.
So that's what they wanted. And
I liked Halliburton hitting big buckets and doing the Dame time.
He's terrific.
Halliburton time. He knew what he was doing. Hey, before we go to break, let's head out to Sandy real quick, where Sean has some wrestling takes too. Sean, the floor is yours.
Hey, guys, when you go to Mount Rushmore, you got to go back to the beginning. You got to bring up like Fritz von Erich. You got to go back to the real wrestlers.
Yeah.
And in Portland here, man, you got to be able to cut a promo and you got to be able to talk right. And nobody talks better than Rip Oliver. Rip Oliver and Billy Jack, those were the days, brother.
Buddy Rose was the best promo guy.
I hope you guys have a great night.
Thanks, Sean. By the way, Chris, that Von Erich movie is coming out.
Oh, I can't wait.
soon.
And it's probably going to be a tearjerker of a movie.
Yeah.
And did you see AEW? They're going to be in Dallas, right? And the Von Erichs are going to be on the show with them.
I saw that. The two young sons of David, is
I
it?
think so, yeah.
I'm not sure which of the Von Erich boys has.
And I know you're into it too, but the Dark Side of the Ring on the Von Erichs, man, that was a good one too.
Yes, it was.
What a wrestling family that was, and a tragic story too. All right, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to pick the Godfather's brain about this big game tonight against the Mavs. Chris Burkhardt here with Dwight Jaynes on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, and we are simply having a commercial-free sing-along time. Open the free iHeart Radio app and indulge in exclusive one-of-a-kind holiday stations and playlists for every joyful mood. Get a head start on the nice list. Open your free iHeart Radio app and search iHeart Holiday.
The Rip City Drive, brought to you by Lazy Boy. What's your strategy for comfort? Here on 620 Rip City Radio. Listen on your free iHeart Radio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
Welcome back into the Rip City Drive. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Chad Doing today. Got one more segment left before I take over for game day and the Godfather gets out here. So we'll get his take on this basketball game tonight against the Mavs and MVP candidate Luka Doncic. But before we do, Godfather, we were talking during the break, and you got to wonder, do you think if the NBA continues to put so much emphasis on this in-season tournament, does it diminish the regular season games that are being played until it's over?
I have to tell you, Chris, that crossed my mind just a few minutes ago. I'm heading out to see the Mavericks and the Blazers play tonight, and I'm thinking, wait a second. I've been hearing all the hype about this tournament, and it really elevated the play. It's really exciting. Well, tonight's not a tournament game. Does that mean this is going to be played on a lower level? Nobody's going to care about it. They won't be competing. Nobody's going to be excited because it's not a tournament game. No, the answer is no. It'll be played at the same pitch, the same fever pitch that a tournament game would be, because that's just the way it is. These guys compete every night. You can tell me all your stuff about, they don't play hard. If you sit close and you see it up close, they play hard every night. You have to just to survive in the NBA. There isn't any of that taking a night off stuff. It's extremely competitive. You can't stay on the floor if you don't compete. It's amazing.
Well, I think it's interesting because they had the play from the Pacers in the quarterfinal game, and the crowd went nuts, and then people were like, do you think this would happen in a regular season game? And the answer is yes.
Of course.
I've seen it happen. I've covered hundreds of them. Like the one of my favorite plays of all time in a regular season game that was against the Timberwolves, the Thomas Robinson dunk, and then you get the alley-oop to Will Barton, the Moda Center roof. I literally, I think I watched it come off and then come back on. The explosion was so loud, and that wasn't a tournament game because there was no in-season tournament back in 2015 or whatever season that was. So you can't act and tell me that regular season games don't have the same just intensity and fan interaction and just reaction that the tournament games do.
I think the people who say that are the ones who don't go to games this time of year and don't really know. They might sit at home and turn a game on for a few minutes and there's nothing at stake, whatever. But, the fact is there's a lot at stake every night. These guys all have contracts they're playing for, jobs they're playing for, spots in the rotation or the starting lineup they're playing for. There's nothing but motivation for all these players almost every night. And people are going to argue with me about that. But, folks, I've seen it. These guys come in from college where a lot of people, in college, they play so hard. They come in, and it sometimes takes a whole first year for those college kids to learn how hard they have to play in the NBA.
Yeah, because they do play hard in college, but they also play sloppy. I don't like watching the college game. All right, we got a few minutes here. Got to get off the tournament, though, because I'm going to be talking about the Blazer game for the next hour and a half, getting everyone ready for the game tonight. But I got to get your take on it before you get out of here. So what are you expecting to see tonight as the Blazers take on Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks?
Well, speaking of Luka, I would expect that they'll try Kamara on Luka, which will be fun to watch. My expectation for that matchup would be Kamara's going to get tagged with some cheap fouls early in the game, because when you put a rookie on a superstar, the officials give the rookie no breaks. Mm-hmm. They cut him no slack. So it's going to be hard for Kamara in his first matchup against Luka to be as physical as I'm sure he'd like to be. So that's one thing to look out for, I think. I'm excited. I enjoy watching Luka play. I really do. I think he's a talent with the way he manipulates the game, not only scoring, but manipulates the half-court offense so that he can get open people, open teammates, and feed them the ball.
Yeah, I mean, the other night he had like a 30 8 point, 15 rebound, 13 assists, double-double. I mean, those aren't the exact numbers, but they're in the ballpark. It was absolutely insane. And he's been doing that almost every night. Like the way he's doing it was great because against Utah, there was a guy complaining about calls he wasn't getting, and Luka just looked at the ref like he's mad because I keep beating his ass. Like that's and he is like he can't be stopped. So Kamara is probably going to have that task tonight. And then we talk about fans and their intensity and their roar and how they bring life to a stadium. Moda Center does that just as good about any fan base. How excited do you think they're going to be? And then even for you tonight to finally see him again. But the return of Anthony Simons to the home court. He did play last game, but that was a road game. Get to see him again tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too because I love watching him play. I think he's an exciting player to watch. He can accelerate and go vertical at the rim, but he's an outstanding shooter and knows where to go to get his shots. I would expect a little better shooting night than we saw in his first game back, but they'll be a better team with him playing. Now I haven't checked the injury report like you're going to have to do it here pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
To see which of his teammates are playing. I would kind of expect Ayton to be back maybe.
Last we checked, he's still doubtful. So
really?
we'll see
How
if they've
about but Grant should be back, right?
We'll see. We'll see what their update is. Last time I think he was questionable, still in the protocols. But DeAndre Ayton is doubtful. And again, we will get updates closer to games because that was the last report from yesterday. And of course, I think that 45 minutes prior is when they have to have their final assessment for days. So
what about Brogdon?
Brogdon, let's look here. Godfather again. So last update, Grant, Williams, and Wainwright out. Ayton, doubtful. Brogdon, questionable. So usually questionable is a good indicator that they probably will play.
Yeah.
I always remember Terry Stotts, someone asked him about it one day. He's like, if someone's questionable, will they play? Oh, it's a good question. If they're doubtful, will someone play? I doubt it. If they're probable, will they play? Probably. So I always thought it was kind of a funny little breakdown of how that works. So yeah, Brogdon questionable, dealing with that right knee soreness. So
Grant, I worry a little bit about a guy who's out more than a game or two with a concussion protocol.
I've had those concussions once. It was nasty. All right. We said it yesterday, and we talked more wrestling today. A lot of wrestlers and people have entry music. We have exit music. It is time to get out of here on the Rip City Drive. Dwight, thanks as always. You make the show so fun. Enjoy the game. And for those of you on the YouTube chat and listening, wherever you're listening, don't go anywhere because Blazers Game Day starts in about 3.5 minutes. This was Chris Burkhardt. That was Dwight Jaynes. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Blazers Game Day here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio.
Good
620.
job, Chris.
Thank you.
Here we go. The inbound of McGinnis. Drive, stop, pump, shoot, short, no good. And the game is over. Kermit on the inbound play. Inbound. Bates at the horn. He scores. They score. And they win it. Bingo, bango, bango. Yes, sir. Bounce pass to Ainge. Ainge for three. Rip. Yes, sir.
Blake now throws to Roy. Brandon, a three-pointer out front. Hit it! Yes, he did! Oh, yeah! Deep three. Oh! What? Blazers win the series. A walk-off three from Lillard.
It's a new era in Portland.
Rebound Sharp, put back dunk, and a new career high for Shaedon Sharp.
I will miss the chance to learn from Dame, but we also have Anthony Simons and JG, guys that have been around him. I won't miss the development on my own part.
It's Blazers Game Day with Chad Dewing. Blazers Game Day is presented by Frost Brewed Coors Light, made to chill.
Hey there, Rip City. Welcome into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here with you for the next hour and a half. Going to get you ready for Blazers Mavs. Talk a little bit about the last game against Golden State. Talk a little bit more about that in-season tournament that Dwight and I talked about earlier today on the Rip City Drive. Get you all updated and ready to go before handing the ball off to the principal, Curtis Long, who will get you ready with the Blazers pregame show. Of course, 7 o'clock, Blazers tipping off against the Dallas Mavericks. If you want to join in on the show, grab your phone, 503-248-0620, if you got anything important to get off your chest on the airwaves, or go over to YouTube, type in Rip City Radio. It's another great way to get into the chat, because you can watch us live on YouTube right now in this beautiful Blazer decorated room. We're working on the decorations. Big shout out to Mika for the Christmas tree. That really stepped up the game. Just one little bit of foliage stepped up the game big time. But we got plenty of talk to get to tonight. And of course, again, get in the chat. It's always fun to keep going with you. And I mentioned this in the drive, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, the Halliburton Dame Time diss, as we're talking it now, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. And he's playing at an incredible level. And he has his Pacers in the finals of the in-season tournament. So good for him. Good for him. Do you hang, like, say the Lakers win this in-season tournament? Like, how funny and, like, disrespectful at the same time will it be, like, next to all their plethora of rings won by all these Hall of Famers, next to the number 8 and 24 from Kobe Bryant hanging in the rafters, hangs a 2023 NBA in-season tournament championship banner. Like, that's something that you keep in the practice facility. That's where it hangs. I don't know if you hang that one in the actual game arena. I don't know if you have that much pride in it. Oh man, we'll see what happens. You know how these teams are. Rachel says that I need a Santa hat. I do. I need to step up my Santa hat game. Funny enough, I was thinking about that in the store today. I do have one. It's an Oregon Duck one, and my children take it all the time. They like to wear the Santa hats. But let's talk a little Blazers, though, fam, because there's plenty to get to. And obviously, tonight is a big one and a tough one for the Blazers as they take on Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. And Luka is playing absolutely insanely right now. As I said earlier, I think he's playing at an MVP level, might be the MVP favorite in my book, putting up absolutely insane numbers pretty much every night. And the Mavericks aren't great, but they aren't bad, sitting there at 12-8 on the season. But I mean, you just look at last game, the Mavericks won 147-97 over the Utah Jazz, and Luka Doncic just had a measly 40-point, 10 rebound, 11 assist, triple-double. That's good. That's good. Like, it's off the wall what he's doing over his last 5 games. Like, that was his last game. The game before that against OKC, he had 36 points, 18 assists, 15 rebounds. The game before that, 41 points, 9 assists, 9 rebounds. That wasn't an actual triple-double, but it might as well have been. He's been a triple-double machine. He is impacting the game on every level. He is unstoppable. He's unstoppable. So the fun part will be how the Blazers attack him tonight, because lately, if you've watched the Blazer games, as I know all of you have because you're all Blazer maniacs out there, the Blazers have been starting games by putting Toumani Camara on the opposition's best player. He started out that game just the other night guarding Steph Curry. Like, they are testing him out against the best of the best right now, and it's absolutely wonderful because he's stepping up to the challenge for the most part. He's looked really, really good on the defensive end. He's bringing the energy, which you love to see, because that's huge. I mean, if you don't have defensive energy, it doesn't matter how good you really are if you can't bring it, right? But he is playing very, very well on that side. So I know Blazer fans love Toumani Camara early on in his young career, as he is just a rookie, because they're like, oh, whoa, a guy wants to play defense? That's amazing. I can get down with that. That's pretty nice to see. So you got to love what you're seeing from Toumani. So I am actually looking forward very much to the test that he has ahead of him tonight when it comes to going up against Luka Doncic, who's going to make him work. That's going to be fun. Also, going to be really fun tonight to see the return of Anthony Simons to the Moda Center. Granted, we saw him as fans watching on TV just a couple nights ago against Golden State, but there is a rabid fan base inside Moda Center that cannot wait to see him back on the floor. It has been a long time without him, so I expect a nice warm reception as he's announced in the starting lineup tonight. And hopefully he has another good game, shakes off any little bit of rust that he has, and gets the scoring up. Because it was really evident in that game against Golden State that came down to the wire that the offense looks completely different with a true shooter in there. A guy who can score on every level, a guy who can create his own shot. I mean, he's not, I've said this before, like, he doesn't create a shot like CJ McCollum creates a shot, but CJ McCollum, I think, is an all-time great when it comes to just creating his own shots off the dribble. His ability to drive into the hole, pull up instantly, and get an open bucket. Incredible. And Ant does that at a pretty good level right now, too. Not on the same level, but it is leaps and bounds better than, say, Shaedon Sharpe. Shaedon Sharpe has the athleticism to drive to the basket, get impressive dunks. Catch and shoot is getting better. The three-point shot overall is getting better. But he doesn't have that stop on a dime, create my own shot type skill set that an Ant does. So you put Ant in there, and he really gets the offense going because he can score on multiple levels, create his own shot, can go ISO, doesn't have to, but again, just adds a sense of versatility to the lineup. So very eager to see that tonight. And then, of course, how this all fit in as Scoot continues to have to mature and mature not nearly as fast as anyone thought. Like, he gets to do this slowly as the team progresses moving forward. He's coming off the bench, but at some point, do you put him into the starting lineup? Against Golden State, the starting lineup was Brogdon, Ant, and Shea. So you got to wonder tonight, Brogdon's out. Do you go back to Ant at the 1, Shea at the 2, and Toumani back at the 3? Or do you roll out your 3 guards and let him go ham because DeAndre Ayton is questionable? So if he's not in there, you don't have your regular center. Jeremy Grant is also likely out, or is not likely out, is out with a concussion, still going through protocol. So you missed your 2 bigs. You rearrange your lineup a little bit. Maybe you go a little smaller. Maybe you get a chance to see Scoot, Ant, and Shea on the floor at the same time, which very well could be the way that the Blazers go in the long run, right? Because maybe they have a good point guard in Scoot. They have a really good two-way guy, not two-way as in offense, defense, but the ability to play point guard and shooting guard in Ant. And then they got a guy in Shea who has been really, really good as a shooting guard, but can you build him up into a small forward and go that way? I think that's interesting. I think that's a crazy way to go, but it could be fun, right? It can be fun. So those are little things we can look at throughout the evening tonight. I want to see how those progress and how the Blazers attack this good Dallas Maverick team defensively. Because like we said, obviously Luka Doncic is going to go get his, but they have ways to beat you. They're going to make you work defensively. That's going to require the Blazers to really, truthfully, bring that team effort, despite whoever is guarding Doncic one-on-one. You're going to have that continued good communication and good movement on the defense side of the ball, which honestly, I think the team's done really good this year with that. It's been really fun to see. that communication, their closing of the gaps. Matisse Thybulle coming off the bench has been wonderful for this team. Slid right back in there. And yeah, remember, he was the starting three. Well, then Tumani played so well, they put him in that position, relegated Matisse back to the bench. Matisse has handled that in stride. But Matisse is also more of a bench guy anyway. It's not like he was a true starter in Philly. He was playing it occasionally, but for the most part, he was a bench rotation guy, your sixth, your seventh guy off the bench, and he does that role incredibly well. So I like that where he is in Portland right now because he plays that spot well. And they're going to need those defensive guys because it's not just Luka who's going to go out there and make you work. Kyrie Irving is obviously one of the better point guards in the game. He had a 26-point performance against the Jazz in that aforementioned victory. He has been long, I think, one of the best ball handlers and finishers at the rim for a point guard. So he's going to attack. He's going to make you work. Tim Hardaway Jr. coming off the bench for them is a bucket getter as well. He reminds me a lot, and not just because he's a junior, but just the way he could stretch the floor, like stretches of Gary Trent Jr. But I do think Tim Hardaway's better. He's bigger. He's longer. Plays great. But he's go get you buckets. And, of course, another name that Blazer fans are very, very familiar with in Seth Curry, who doesn't take a ton of shots and doesn't score in bunches. However, if you leave him open, he's going to find ways to score. That's just what he does. He's a certified shot taker and bucket maker. That's what he does. That's what he does. And to the chat, you're good. Hey, the chat's popping off. So when we cut to break here in a second, I'll catch up on the chat, maybe see what kind of conversation that gets us. But we still got plenty to get to on this big show. We got What's the Scoot? We're going to get a scoreboard report coming up about 5:15. Hopefully we'll be able to cut in live to the pregame press conference and hear from head coach Chauncey Billups. And again, jump in on the chat, youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, get in on the chat. I'll catch up here during the break, and we'll keep the conversation going. Chris Burkhardt here, getting you ready for the big game tonight, Blazers versus Mavs, right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Alrighty, welcome back into the not Rip City Drive Blazers Game Day with Chris Burkhardt today, filling in for Chad Doing. He's taking a little bit of a little Christmas time, winter time vacation, if you will. Much deserved for the man. He works his tail off. So we'll have a little fun here, though, and we get ready for the Blazers taking on the Dallas Mavericks tonight and Luka Doncic. You know what I love about the YouTube chat is you get people who weren't listening on YouTube. They were listening either on the app or they were listening in their car while they were driving, and they were being responsible. So they weren't having the YouTube chat up or YouTube up. They were listening through the radio. And then they got to a spot where they could chime in and they grab the phone, get on the YouTube, and they start commenting in the section. That is our friend over here, Bricks and Joysticks, chiming in like, hey, I didn't have a chance to do it, but I'm getting in on the talk now. And I love it. He did say that we forgot about Brutus the Barber Beefcake when it comes to wrestling legends. And as I pointed out, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, or the Zodiac, when he was with the Dungeon of Doom in the WCW, he is an all-time legend and perhaps the biggest head on the Mount Rushmore of wrestlers who rode their best friend's coattails to a very long and illustrious career. Because how high does Brutus the Barber Beefcake go if he wasn't Hulk Hogan's best friend? It's a legit question. Him and what Brian Knobbs of the Nasty Boys. Oh, man, wrestling's the best. If you're not a fan, you need to watch it. We'll watch it. All right, LaMarcus slander? Oh, man. So we got someone who was talking about LaMarcus in the chat here. This might have been Andrew, I think, saying that all LaMarcus had was a fadeaway jump shot. Wasn't that good? Tony chimes in, LaMarcus slander or LaMarginal Aldridge? What? Is this like Jonathan Smith? Like all the Beaver fans who just can't stand Jonathan Smith. Are we still not over the way LaMarcus left? Are we just going to rewrite history and not act like he's one of the few players in the NBA to have scored 20,000 points? Are we just going to act like he's not one of the greatest Blazers of all time? Are we just going to act like during his tenure in Portland and early on in San Antonio, he wasn't the best power forward in basketball? Are we just going to pretend like none of that happened? That's why I don't stand for LaMarcus slander. I get the fandom part of it. You felt stabbed in the back. You didn't want to see him leave, but LaMarcus Aldridge was really freaking good. Except when he did the little back to the basket thing and then he turned baseline on a spin move and he lost the dribble almost every single time. Somehow he always got it back, but like he lost it every single time. Andrew says he scored 20K points at the park over 4 summers. Playing yourself? I mean, I scored 40,000 by myself. I scored however many you want. It's like when Dwight was talking about he looks me dead in the eye and goes, you can be 20 pounds overweight, 50 pounds overweight. The number can escalate quickly depending on who's telling the tale. It's like the guy who always tells us the legend of the fish that he got that he let back in that no one saw. And every single time he tells the story, the fish gets a pound heavier and an inch longer. You know what's going on. But that's our takes on LaMarcus. And, hey, LaMarcus is a Texas guy, right? Dallas Mavericks in town tonight taking on the Blazers. And the Blazers got to bounce back after taking the 110-106 loss in the last matchup against the Golden State Warriors. And that was an interesting little game because the Blazers, they played well. And it was nice to see Anthony Simons back, right? Anthony played wonderfully. Anthony, the shot was there. He was 10 of 27 overall. You'd like to see it be just a little bit better, but he did score 28 points, grabbed a couple of assists. And then Shaedon Sharpe chipped in 26. And I find that really interesting, man, because I've argued for a long time that Ant is better at the 2 than he is the 1. He can play both of them, but I think he's a better shooting guard. In that game against Golden State, once the injury to Brogdon happened and you saw him get some of the time there being Simons at the 1, him and Sharpe just looked really, really good together. I'm really eager to see how that continues to grow and play out tonight, because if those two can grow and then you find a way to get Scoot in there as well, and again, maybe it goes to a Scoot at the point guard and Ant at the 2 and maybe Shea at the 3, like that's an interesting way to go. And I want to see this continue to build and continue to grow, because I think it's just going to be really fun to watch and see. Like, who doesn't want to see it? I want to see it. I know you guys want to see it. So I just like to have Ant back. Like, who doesn't like having Ant back? It's absolutely wonderful. And Michael Shacker, if you can hear me, make sure my host PC is on for a minute because I'm going to play some audio here. So we do have Anthony Simons post game after that game in Golden State, and I want to take a listen to him because it's not very often we get to hear from him because he's been on the injury report. So let's hear what old Ant had to say following that loss.
Just trying to find our rhythm back. I think it's going to be a little, not really of an adjustment period, but a little adjustment period, me coming back. And you could tell like a little bit in the fourth quarter, we didn't have that kind of cohesiveness in the fourth quarter where what we wanted to do. So we just figured that out in the next couple of games. But overall, I liked how we played. We didn't change the way we played just because I came back. And, I was happy about that. I just, wanted to go out there and compete just how they've been doing it when I was out. So overall, I think, I think I played pretty well personally. There's a couple of plays that I wish I had back for sure. But overall, I think I was, catching my rhythm, pretty good.
How do you feel like you guys did dealing with kind of the free throw disparity tonight?
I think, obviously, it's a young team, so, we got a lot to figure out when it comes to how to, go out there and get free throws as well. A veteran team, they know how to, play the game. So I think we'll get better at that, but we got to just play through it. We can't really control it. And I think that's what we've been doing. We've been playing through it. Guys with 3 and 4 fouls, 4 and 5 fouls in the fourth quarter, and we just been keep battling. Throwing guys in. The guys been stepping up and playing well. Chris played well today. Came in and we needed him. He made some big threes for us. So that's what we're looking for.
Can you talk more about just how you felt to start the game? Obviously, getting the start. I think you played almost 40 minutes tonight. A little bit of a slow start, it seemed like, from you offensively, but it seemed like you kind of started to find your rhythm as the game went on.
Right. Yeah. There was a couple shots that I liked that it didn't fall, but I felt like I was getting the right shots for me. And then in the second half, I just wanted to get us into a good rhythm. So I hit a three, and then they started blitzing, and I started just hitting the pocket a whole bunch of times. We started gaining momentum from there, and I kind of just was kind of easing into the game at that point. So I was finally kind of finding the rhythm on how I want to approach each and every game, and it's going to get better each and every game for me, just how I approach it and when spots to be aggressive and when to make the plays for others. So I think it was a good start for today.
Hey, there you have a little bit of Anthony Simons after that game. And, yeah, he said it was a good start. And you got to shake off just a little bit of that rust in the long run, right? But I think he's going to be just fine. And the big part for me was the fact that he definitely made the offense look different in a good way. Like, it was like, okay, we have a guy that we can trust to take shots. That's a good thing. A thing you like to see. You absolutely love to see it. All right. Now, if you want to join in on the chat, 503-248-0620, you can get in on the phone, or you can join the YouTube chat as well. And we'll head out to the phones right now, where we have Charlie in Vancouver who wants to get his take on LaMarcus in on the chat. So, Charlie, welcome in. The floor is yours.
Hey, I loved Aldridge. I thought he was a very good player. But honestly, at no time did I think he was the best power forward in the NBA, just because I think there's so much more than stats. And I'm not saying I think he couldn't be, because when he was on the top of his game and wanted to win a big game, I feel like he was tremendous. But that was so rare. I mean, to me, I judge guys, great players, by how often they're great players. I want them to be great players every single night. And I think looking back on it, we look at his stats and say, oh, my God, he was great every single night. He wasn't. There were a lot of nights when he just didn't show up and didn't seem to care. I don't know. Body language and all that kind of stuff just really bothers me. Like Caleb Williams, I don't think he's going to be a great pro. I think he's great, but look, he's leaving the bowl game. I mean, seems like he left about half the season, in my opinion. It looked like he wasn't there in the beginning of the year when he didn't have the ball. I mean, make your teammates better, and I didn't think LaMarcus was ever that guy. Very talented, great human being, but he's not the one guy I want as a power forward when I want to win a big game.
All right, that's a fair take. I will let it live on the show, and you're entitled to it. I think you're wrong, personally. I mean, it's hard to say that a guy who went out there and was a 7-time All-Star, 3 times with Portland, the best player on the team, when you got Damian Lillard in tow, I thought LaMarcus was phenomenal, and I thought LaMarcus Aldridge did impact the game, and I thought LaMarcus Aldridge did bring it when you needed him to bring it. He just didn't have the over just out there personality, whether it was on the court or off, that some people gravitate to. But I thought he was incredible. And I do think that there was a point in time where he was the best power forward in the game. And there are people who look at me and go, oh, yeah, what about Tim Duncan? Yeah, well, when LaMarcus Aldridge was playing power forward in the NBA, Tim Duncan was a center. So that one is an interesting argument. And I mean, it's debatable where you want to put him. You can put him wherever you want, but he's in the conversation, at least, for being the best at that position for a short period of time there. And he scored incredibly and rebounded the ball well. And like, you don't have to be a Kevin Durant or a Steph Curry or whatever to be an all-time great. So yeah, I do. I think he's an all-time great. I think he's on the Blazer Mount Rushmore. And I think that, yeah, I think there was a moment in time where he was the best power forward in the game. So that's my take. I mean, you can look at it real quickly. Like, let's look at the 2013 All-Star game. He was on that team. That was his first All-Star bid. You had Blake Griffin on that team. Now, Blake Griffin was a highlight machine and had moments, but I don't think he was better than LaMarcus Aldridge in their prime runs. You look at the bench on that team. David Lee was in there. Zach Randolph had a moment where he was really good as well. I'm going to take LaMarcus over him. You look at the Eastern Conference. You had Chris Bosh. Now, there's an argument. Now, Chris Bosh, especially like the Toronto years where he was just carrying that team, was flipping phenomenal. So unfortunate that his career had to get cut short because he was really, really good. You also had Kevin Garnett. He's kind of like a power forward center tweener. But outside that, like, those are the guys you're looking at for power forwards. And LaMarcus is absolutely in that conversation. And of course, later in his career, ended up to be a little bit more of a center. But yeah, it's just, I get it. I just don't understand why there's so much LaMarcus slander, so much LaMarcus hate. I think he's one of the all-time greatest Blazers. There's a lot of people who think like you do, Charlie, though. So don't. I'm not discounting your take at all. I'm just respectfully disagreeing with it. But there are a lot of people I do talk to that do think that way. There's a lot of people who think my way. I think LaMarcus is such an interesting player because he's so polarizing. You're either here or you're there. It is very one way or the other with him. There's not a lot of middle ground. And I find that very interesting. I want to know how much plays into it. Is it truly how he played, or is it the way he exited? Because I know there's a lot of people who don't like the way he exited and will hold that against him forever. I don't know if there's a more polarizing, talented player, though, for Portland. It's very, very interesting, the take on LaMarcus, because I don't know if he'll ever fully buoy one way or the other. All right, I got to take a quick break here on Game Day. When we return, we're going to give you a scoreboard report, take you around the NBA and see what's out there scoreboard-wise. And for all you LaMarcus haters, that's okay. For you LaMarcus lovers, that's okay too. We're all just basketball heads at the end of the day. Chris Burkhardt here. Blazers Game Day rolls on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Not even ready for a scoreboard. I said we're going to do a scoreboard, and then the chat did what the chat does, and they wrote me into the black hole of debating LaMarcus Aldridge's greatness. And now I'm like, oh, got to do a scoreboard report. And that's a shout out to the chat because you're doing exactly what I want you to do. That's talk hoops, baby. We're having fun. I disagree. I think LaMarcus Aldridge was a great basketball player. But you guys wrote me hook, line, and sinker every time. Thank you so much for the debates, by the way. You guys are absolutely awesome. All right, let's go to the scoreboard report now that I'm focused. At halftime in Charlotte, the Hornets have the 66-54 lead over the Toronto Raptors. Terry Rozier leading the way with 12 points and 8 assists for the home team, and Pascal Siakam with 16 points for the Raptors. In Orlando, the Magic have a 56-38 lead over the Pistons with about a minute left in the first half. Killian Hayes, 12 points and 6 rebounds for the Pistons. In Philly, the Hawks have the 6-point lead, 68-62 over the 76ers. Joel Embiid with the 17 points and 9 rebounds in the first half. It is halftime, by the way. At the end of the first, the Nets lead the Wizards 26-18. Bridges with 8 points for the Nets leading the way there as the Wizards struggle to get the offense going. At the end of the first as well, the Celtics have the 1-point lead over the Knicks 33-32. Kristaps Porzingis, who's finally back after dealing with his injury, has 10 points, and Mitchell Robinson leading the Knicks with 6. Those are the only games going on right now, but tipping off in just moments, we have the Cavaliers at the Heat, the Timberwolves at the Grizzlies, the Warriors at the Thunder. At 5:30, we have Bulls at the Spurs. At 6 o'clock, Rockets at the Nuggets. Also at 6 o'clock, Kings at the Suns. At 7 o'clock, Clippers at Jazz. And at the same time, the last game of the night, your Portland Trailblazers playing host to Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. And that is your scoreboard report. You know what I love about Blazer fandom and just basketball, being a basketball head in general, is the fact that it is the year 2023 and our chat and the show has been dominated by LaMarcus Aldridge talk. I love it. I love it. And everyone's tagging me now in the chat, whether they disagree with me or they agree with me. And we're just having fun, just talking hoops. Who thought LaMarcus Aldridge would be the main talking point in the year 2023? It's absolutely phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. I still don't understand LaMarcus hate. I've said this one forever, guys. This is not just a current chat type thing. A lot of people just don't like him. And I think the way he left soured so many people on the way he played. And if you were one way or the other, or maybe you were just a little bit like, I really like the way he plays, but he does this thing wrong. I don't like it. The way he left, so many people, yep, that tipped me one way or the other. It's interesting. Like I said, I think he just might be one of the most polarizing, super talented players in the history of the Blazers. Because I know plenty of people don't even put him on the Mount Rushmore of the team. I do. That being said, like, he's not my personal favorite at the position. My personal favorite Blazer of all time and my favorite power forward of all time is Rasheed Wallace. He's probably my favorite basketball player ever. Loved Rasheed Wallace. Defended that man to the end of the earth. I just gets a lot of technicals because he's a passionate player. Like, right? I loved Sheed. And Sheed is another one. Like, there's people who didn't like LaMarcus's approach. Now, Sheed is another one who could have been way better had he just attacked the game and wanted to be goated, right? There was times where he could have been the guy taking the last second shot and didn't want to. Could have been times he could have really dominated a game but chose not to. Like, he was interesting. I still loved his game, though. I mean, if you had prime Rasheed Wallace in the modern NBA with the way he stretched the floor, oh my gosh, he would be deadly. He'd be deadly. He's a good defender, too. Good defender, too. My personal favorite. Let's see. Walton, Clyde, Dame, B. Roy. They were great. LaMarcus a level below. What do you call that? I don't know if LaMarcus is a level below. Like, why does the level only have to have 4 players? B. Roy was great. It was just such a small little smidge because unfortunately injuries took him. And just because you're not in the top 4, Tony, doesn't mean you're great. Like, I don't understand. Like, why do we have to quantify, like, this is the only thing that matters to be great? Anything else like that is absolute dump. Like, it's not. Like, you can still be a great player. Maybe you're in the second tier of that greatness, but you're still a great player. Like, that I don't get. Like, if you don't make the cut for the Mount Rushmore of Blazers, doesn't mean you weren't a great player. just means you weren't in that upper tier of that greatness. Like, do I agree with you that like Walton, Clyde, Dame, B-Roy, like there's a lot of people who don't put B-Roy up on that list just because he didn't have the longevity. However, that little spurt he had, Tony, holy smokes. Kobe was in his prime. You take Kobe and you had the D Wade in there too, but like he was one of the best shooting guards in the NBA. And that, oh my gosh, that mid-range jumper of his, oh my gosh. I feel like they had to make nets smaller just so his shot would touch the net. Like they're gonna squeeze this net just so Brandon Roy's shot will touch it because his shot was so silky smooth. I also say it takes something. Matisse Thybulle's in there right now too, just because it takes something special to be liked in this city when you're a Washington Husky. Like I remember Brandon Roy walking into MacArthur Court in the final year of the pit and getting a standing ovation while he's wearing his Washington Husky Letterman at a Duck game. Do you know how special you have to be to the city of Portland and basketball fan to get a standing ovation wearing a Husky Letterman at MacArthur Court in Eugene? So you want to talk about levels of greatness? That's a special level of greatness right there. It's pretty improbable. Crazy. And as Chris points out, Kobe said B-Roy was the hardest to guard in the NBA. Kobe also gave a ton of props to rookie Damian Lillard in their first matchup too. Kobe knew greatness. That's for sure. Brandon Roy was crazy. All right, we're going to take a break right now, a little bit early here, and hopefully when we come back, we'll be able to go live to Chauncey Billups in the presser. If Shacker has to cut me off mid-sentence just to get to him, we'll do it. We're going to hear from him, though, here in the next segment. Chris Burkhardt here with you guys on Blazers Game Day on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Time Jeep of Portland presents the Coach's Corner with Chauncey Billups. Time for a brand new ride from Time Jeep of Portland. You won't believe the huge deals they're offering. With over 300 new and used vehicles to choose from, you'll find the perfect ride for your new adventure at Time Jeep. Find us just minutes away from the Moda Center off I-84 or visit timejeep.com. Drive with time.
Alrighty, welcome back in, and we're just waiting for Coach Billups to get to the podium. I'm waiting for the thumbs up from Michael Shacker on my little screen over here, but we'll be talking about it until Coach Billups gets there, and we will cut to him as soon as he does. Tony does chime back in, says, I am almost 50, and B-Roy is my favorite Blazer of all time. He pulled this franchise out of the dumps with his game and his leadership. Dude, there's a lot of people who value that more so than the game. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I do, and I'm with you, because that was kind of really peak fandom for me. I mean, I'm still a peak fan, but I'm in a different spot now, having covered the team as a reporter and done this radio stuff. But yeah, I contend fully. The Jail Blazer era, a lot of people soured on that. I say that as a guy who loves Rasheed Wallace, and that was, peak Jail Blazer era. But Brandon Roy definitely helped get the team out of that, Tony, and I think there's a lot of people who love him for that. I know a lot of people. Brandon Roy could have, not been one of the greatest point guards ever, and still would have helped get got the nod had he done what he did with getting the team out. So yeah, some people value different things, right? There's a lot of people who no longer put Dame on their Mount Rushmore because they value loyalty, and they thought the way that he left really hurt his loyalty card. So how you value and how you interpret your own greatness among your team, it differs, Tony. And I think that's why people differ on LaMarcus, because some people value what he did higher. Some people really hate the way he left. And it's just an interesting debate. But gosh, the part about Roy that hurts the most is just the fact that it was an injury that took him out, because, like I said, that man was unstoppable. Unstoppable. So good. That mid-range jumper was great. And before there was ever 0.9, or before there was ever the bad shot, there was that shot over Yao Ming and the Rockets that Brandon Roy had, which was made even better by the fact that he fouled Yao Ming on the other side of the court to take him to the line, giving them the lead. And then, boom, here he comes with that insane catch, turnaround up, and it did the Brandon Roy thing. Didn't even touch the net. Oh, my gosh. It was incredible. Fritz comes in, says he really likes CJ. Classy fella. CJ was great. He was great in the locker room. He was great with the media. Great stories with him. Shared some good personal moments with him. You're right. Good human. Loved CJ McCollum in that locker room. I also love when he got a little salty too. Like the one that's been the meme now, like when he answers a question as he's slurping on his on his post-game milkshake, his little protein shake. Like that's classic. A little side eye to the cam. Loved it. All right, got the thumbs up. So Chauncey Billups is at the podium. Let's hear what he has to say right now.
A long time.
I haven't seen you in a long time either. So where are you?
I'm everywhere. You ain't never there.
I'm here. I just didn't ask maybe here.
It's all good. I hear you. I hear you.
Too small, man.
I hear you. Damn. What's up, dog? I'm good, man. I'm good. Just chilling. All right, I'll let y'all work, man. Yeah, go ahead.
Do we know about DA and Malcolm?
Yeah, they both not playing.
Is either of them anything you think is long-term going to be anything?
No, I think they both kind of pretty much day-to-day, to be honest with you. They both starting to be a little more active, but not ready to play yet, though.
You're going to start the same way you did second half last game?
Yeah.
So what are the components to go into Thibault being such a good defender?
Tease is one. I mean, his activity is incredible. You know, he got great hands, but great anticipation. He loves to guard. You know, he loves to take on those tough matchups. He's very, like, you try to screen him, like he gets around screens. He navigates those as good as anybody I've seen. His catch-up speed, you know, when he is behind his rear view contest, I mean, for most guys it's a contest. For him, it's a lot of times a block, you know. And I've just, he comes from some far distances to block three-point shots, because I'm a guy that I'm saying, like, I like to contest that and don't make himself susceptible to fouling a three-point shooter. But I like give Tease his own rules. You know, I just coach everybody else and let Tease don't do what Tease do. You know, he's just gifted that way.
Chauncey, you've had Ant for a while now. What is the difference with his ability to run the offense, his playmaking, his vision? You know, Golden State throws two at him a year ago. He probably doesn't string it out, doesn't find the pocket. What are those non-box score things? How different are they just in the last year?
Well, it's totally different. I mean, his level of his studying is different. You know, he just sees it different. He's seeing coverages, obviously, that Dame seen. So he was able to see those as a teammate of his and how Dame kind of navigated those situations. And now he's seeing a lot of those. And his patience in the double team, like I'm trying to teach him, like, if you're good enough to get double teamed, accept it, you know, and be able, you know, to drag it out a little bit and get it to the pocket or to the guy in front of you to see pass and let the guys play 4-on-3 on the backside, you know, and have confidence in that. And we'll find a way to get it to you, you know. So his confidence in it has impressed me. And he's just so like, there's some times where he accepts it, and there's some times where he's like, all right, he sees a big guy kind of trapping him. He's able to reject and throw the defense off balance some, but he studies it a lot more.
It sounds like Grant, DeAndre, and Malcolm won't be out too long, but is it pretty frustrating for you that you just got these back, you get Ant back, and then, oh, hey.
Yeah, I know. I felt bad for Jeremy. But all of them, it's always very frustrating when I have to come up here and I rarely have a full deck. I've become accustomed to it, you know, and obviously it opens up great opportunity for some of the other guys. But we're just so much better when we got our guys. We don't have them very often together, you know. So it is frustrating, but I'm more happy that whoever we play and we put on the floor, they just play so damn hard, man, and they give me all they got.
Chauncey, with a guy like Luka, who's that heliocentric offense, how hard is it not only to game plan, but you've got a young team that you want to be physical and you want to be aggressive in passing lanes and you want to dictate terms. How do you dictate to a guy who you can't dictate to?
Yeah, I mean, he's seen every coverage. He's probably the hardest guy to game plan for in the league because you can play him perfect and it not matter. You know, he's just that good. He really is. But you do have to, even with that being said, you got to change defenses. You got to change people on him. You got to try to keep him off balance. But there are certain players in the league that even if you play good D, if they miss the shot, most of the time they just missed a shot. It wasn't the defense. And he's so big, you know, you trap him, you blitz him, he can see over top of it. He knows where it's coming from. He can jump in the air and throw no look. I mean, he can do it all. He's seen it all. So, but that doesn't discourage us from trying it all, and we will.
What's your thought on this rookie class? You obviously have a good young one. There's several big guys, including Dallas as center. What do you think about this class as a whole, and obviously the play of Henderson?
Yeah, I think this class was a great class. We thought it would be. I think most people early on thought it just would be top heavy, but it's proven to not just be top heavy. I mean, there's so many good players. I mean, you guys got two really, really good rookies that are playing well. We have two really good rookies that are playing well that will be great players in this league for a long time, and there's just so many of them. It's a very, very deep class. And the way that I think about it is how many guys can come in and contribute in that first year. And oftentimes that's 4 or 5 guys. This year it's been a ton more than that, you know, so it was a great class.
Back on the subject of Doncic, all 4 times you guys played Dallas last year before they got Irving, and I wondered when you're preparing for Dallas how much different it is to have to prepare for. You got the Irving dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, that most oftentimes Luka's has been so good that people don't talk much about Kai. But, I mean, obviously one of the most talented guys ever played this game, to be honest with you. So you blitz him a lot, then you got to worry about blitzing Kai, or if you do or if you don't, But you can't play him with one person either. He can exploit you in so many different ways, and it's not just his scoring. Most people just talk about his scoring. He's a smart basketball player, and he knows how to manipulate defenses as well to make players better. So that's why Nico did the deal, so they can be so difficult to stop.
Thank you. Appreciate
Good. Dave, good to see you.
All right. I think Shacker did that on purpose. Like, do you notice how we cut in right as Chauncey was, giving a little what for to the Godfather? Oh, I don't see you all the time. Like, I thought it was kind of funny. Well done. But yeah, there's Chauncey, and interesting, tough for him. Like you said, he rarely gets a full deck of cards. You get one guy back and you lose two because Brogdon was questionable and DeAndre Ayton was doubtful. They are both out tonight, as updated there by head coach Chauncey Billups. So interesting how the lineups are going to work tonight. You're probably going to get another healthy case of Duop Reith, who's been playing really well, been showing the ability to really stroke that three-point shot for the Blazers. So that's nice to see, and we'll see how they do tonight. And Chauncey's right there at the end. The interesting thing that the Mavericks have two really good top-end stars in Kyrie and Luka, and Kyrie can find ways to beat you on many nights, but everyone's focused on Luka because Luka's playing so well right now. You can't sleep on Kyrie because he knows how to have big games too. All right, going to take a quick break here on Blazers Game Day. When we return, it's time for some cold hard truths brought to you by Coors Light. Get you ready for this Dallas Mavericks Portland Trailblazers matchup tonight at Moda. Chris Burkhardt here. Blazers Game Day continues on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, welcome back into Blazers Game Day, and it is time for a couple Coors Cold Hard Facts. Fact number one, I think that at the basically, quarter point of this season, you can really start to say some things are permanent, right? And they aren't a fluke. And I think one of those is this Blazers defense. I think it's obvious that this Blazers defense is much improved from previous seasons. A lot of that has to do with, I think, this team being young and listening to Coach Billups and really doing what he wants. I also think a large part of that just has to do with the bodies, right? DeAndre Ayton, big, good defensive center, moves laterally better and around the rim a little bit better than Yusuf Nurkic. I think that helps. I think Shaedon Sharpe has improved on that end. Malcolm Brogdon is a good defender as well. But obviously, I think big keys here are having Tease and having Tamani. Tamani has been an absolute breath of fresh air, bringing the energy initially off the bench and then now into the starting lineup. The offense is coming around. That's great. But the cold hard fact for this one is the fact that I think this defense is legit. It's a good defense. It's not great yet. It's getting close, though, in the fact that they're really starting to do the things that this team wants to do on that side of the ball. Fact number two, Anthony Simons is really good. Like, we knew this, right? But I think he proved, despite the fact that he was shaking off rust, that it's unquestioned who the best player on this team is. It's Anthony Simons. Now, Shaedon Sharpe did have a really good game, and Scoot continues to get a little bit better every week. And Jeremy Grant, when he's in there, can score with them. But Ant is the team's best player. He's absolutely the team's best player. Love it. And having him back changes everything. It changes every dynamic of this team. Because offensively, they have a guy who can go make buckets, right? And that's good. That's really good. And I think it's going to be interesting as you continue to integrate Scoot in here and get things going. Having that shooter is huge because they just don't really have an outside shooter who can consistently hit that shot outside of Jeremy Grant, right? Shea's been up and down in that area. Tamani's not a great shooter. Tease isn't a great shooter. The list goes on. So having Ant's great. Having Ant's absolutely great. That's a cool, cold, hard fact. Cold, hard fact number three, because I always like to give you three. LaMarcus Aldridge is great no matter what you say. No matter what you say. The L train is phenomenal. However, regardless of what you think about his play, you do got to admit, I do think Mark Mason's the L train is that's pretty high up there, the way he introduced the L train. You got to give him that. And then you remember when Thomas Robinson came around and he was the truck, and they tried the truck sounder inside the arena as well. It's absolutely kind of funny. And of course, that's just my cool hard fact to poke the bear a little bit, get that chat going. You guys are wonderful. Some comments on there. Everyone was talking about the time they've ran into random Blazers. And I think it's funny because I have covered this team professionally since 2014 when I first entered the business with what was then Comcast Sports Northwest. And I got to meet the Blazers just through work, being in the locker room. And I have every single time I've talked to a Blazer and met a Blazer, except for one, has been in a work setting. I have rarely, actually, I'm going to say almost never, except for one time, ran into a Blazer in public. And the only time I ran into a Blazer in public was Zach Collins at a Beaver game. That's the only time I ran into a Blazer in public. I'm pretty sure Zach Collins was weaseling his way into the student section because you got to remember, he's fresh out of high school. So he was only 19, 20 years old anyway. He was younger than half the people in the student section. But that's the only time I've ran into a Blazer in public. And it kind of surprises me. I love hearing the stories, though, of all the fans who are yeah, I was randomly at Lloyd Center one day and I ran into Zach Randolph, or I was out at dinner and that's where I met Brian Grant. It's so cool to hear the stories that fans have of running in to Blazers at random points. And I pointed out in the chat too, my grandma used to work at a bar downtown. My grandma had many jobs, bless her heart. She was manager at McDonald's at one point too, which was awesome as a kid because when I went over for sleepovers at grandma's house, when you were hungry, all you had to do was open up the freezer and there was quarter pounders in the freezer. That was pretty nice. That was a pretty nice setup. But she used to work at a bar, and she said that Clyde would come quite often after games with players from the other team and they'd have drinks. And of course, being me as a kid, I asked her, I'm like, Grandma, so did you get autographed? She's like, no. She's like, I was the bartender, he was the patron. We had a first name relationship. He called me Sharon, I called him Clyde. Everything was good. It's like, dang it, Grandma, should have gotten an autograph. No, Christopher. Okay, Grandma, you're right. I'm wrong. You don't ever cross grandmas. They're always correct. But it's a cool little story that she had. And yeah, some of the stories people are sharing in here. Saw Greg Oden out at the bar one night. Everyone running into people. Chris says he ran into Robert Pack down at Tequila Willie's, which later became Hoosong and Larry's. Man, Tequila Willie's, that's an epic name. That's obviously way before my time. Way before my time. What's Rachel say? Clyde lived in Houston for a couple of years. Clyde came into the restaurant where my then husband worked and got me Clyde's autograph. See, I read that after I praised my grandma for not getting the autograph and keeping it professional. Maybe my grandma should have got an autograph. Heck were you thinking, Sharon? Oh man, she is up above in heaven scolding me right now. I'm gonna hear from her. Oh man, I just love the stories though, guys. So keep sharing them in the chat. Jump in on YouTube, go to Rip City Radio 620, and if you've run into a Blazer, share the story. Share who your Mount Rushmore is. I don't care. We're having lots of fun. A great conversation today. Now, today is a game day. That's why Blazers Game Day is on, and that game is against the Dallas Mavericks. Again, Dallas went out and just obliterated the Utah Jazz in their last matchup, winning that game 147-97. Luka Doncic, a 40, 10, and 11 triple-double. Kyrie chipped in 26. Former Blazer Derrick Jones Jr. also had 12. Exum had 5. Lively had 10. Tim Hardaway off the bench with 17. Former Blazer Seth Curry with 10. Dwight Powell, who's still with the Mavericks. That seems weird. He had 4. The team just went out there and they balled. And that's the tough part tonight. And we'll get to it in the next segment with Keys to the Game when I really kind of break down what I think the Blazers need to do to get the victory tonight. But everything the Mavericks are going to do that is going to attack the Blazers and make them work is going to center around Luka Doncic. And Luka Doncic is, in my opinion right now, I think he's the favorite for the MVP. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I think when you get to the end of the season, you're going to have a lot of players in that conversation. Obviously, Jokic will be in that conversation. Joel Embiid always in the conversation. Might have Giannis. Heck, you might have Dame, depending on how the Bucks go. You might have SGA, depending on if the Thunder continue to play well. You might have a young Anthony Edwards in that conversation since the Timberwolves are playing so darn well. But right now, man, Luka has just looked unstoppable, untouchable, incredible, absolutely incredible. Playing to the point where if you're an Atlanta Hawk fan, you're like, yeah, we might have messed that draft day trade up. we might have we messed it up. Just like the Kings look at Tyrese Halliburton and go, yeah, we might have traded the wrong guard in that deal. It'd be mighty nice to have this guy who is about to be an all-star and might be in the MVP conversation. But when you have a player as talented as Luka, everything's going to revolve around him. So how do they stop him tonight? And as we said earlier in the show, that's why I get a lot of interest in this one, because you're going to get right out the gate, just like you've seen in the last few games, best player has been guarded by who? Toumani Camara. So Toumani Camara is going to get a test tonight with Luka Doncic. The interesting part is you're going from guarding Steph to guarding Luka. And I mean, those are just two different players, right? Got a little more size, a little less speed with Luka, but the ability to lull you to sleep and then beat you in various ways. He's going to be able to shoot the ball. He's going to be able to attack the rim. Obviously, a great passer as well. So how do you defend that? Going to be a lot of situations, or you might be able to see Toumani and Tease on at the same time, both defensively attacking the Blazers. So, excuse me, defensively attacking the Mavericks. So it's going to be just an interesting all-around game for how the Blazers really attack this, guys. It's going to be a challenge. And as I said earlier in the facts just a second ago, that I think a fact at this point of the year is that the Blazers defense is much improved, without question. And if they end the year at like 20th, still much improved. Still much improved. But they're going to get tested when they face one of the best in the league. All right, if Michael Shacker can hear me, we're going to take a quick little break here. Final one of the show. When we come back, I'm going to give you our keys to the game. See, God, I got to stop doing this. I praise Michael Shacker for playing great music, and then what he does is continue to keep playing great music. I love it. It's absolutely phenomenal. Makes me not want to cut the break. Just makes me want to listen to Rob Zombie. Phenomenal. All right, Chris Burkhardt here. Game day rolls on in just a few minutes on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio, 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. It is time for my keys to the game. And key number one, defense, defense, defense. Got to get Tamani Kamara locked in. You got to get him on Luka, and you got to find a way to slow Luka down. I've said this many a time, but with players of Luka's stature, you can't stop him, but you can try to slow him down and make other players work. So can you make Tim Hardaway have to make buckets? Can you make Kyrie have to take over some of the load? It's going to be a tall task, but you got to give credit where credit is due on Luka. But I do think Tamani has been playing great defense. You want to see that. Second key to the game, get Ant involved early, get him involved often. Get the three-pointer flowing, get him to shake off whatever rust he has, get him going. It would be a great night for him to drop a 30-piece, right? Get someone on that scoreboard who can just drop points and drop them often. If you get him involved, he has gravity, right? And if you get the gravity on him, that's going to open up the door to maybe get some easy buckets at the rim for guys like Jabari Walker, Tamani Kamara, and obviously maybe Scoot can get the three-point falling. It's going to open up things for Shea. Get him going. Key number 3. Don't turn the ball over. Don't turn the ball over. Dallas is not a team that is really going to push, but if you give them easy turnovers and easy transition buckets, they will get out to big leads. So don't turn the ball over. Control the rock. Pretty simple. Those are my keys to the game. We'll see what happens. Oh, can I throw out a fourth key to the game? Let's have a great game from Scoot Henderson. Speaking of Scoot Henderson, time for What's the Scoot? All right, it's time to do an update here on Scoot Henderson as we do every pre- and post-game show with What's the Scoot? I'm going to look at how the Blazers rookie is doing. Hey, he's starting to come around. He's starting to have his moments. Against Utah, he had a great game, career-high 17 points. Shot 40% from the floor in that one and was showing off that he has the ability to get his buckets, get his shots, get going. Against Golden State, a little bit of a tougher game, but he did have 4 assists, a couple rebounds, and did have 9 points. The interesting part about that game, he wasn't asked to do a ton offensively, so he ended the night 4 of 9 shooting, which is not bad at all. Still plenty to be desired, though, in that three-point shot. That's a work in progress, to say the least. And it is interesting, as been pointed out many times, how different his shot looks when it's off the dribble versus in the catch and shoot. The catch and shoot looks much more refined. And that's one of those things you kind of do with these rookies is you really work on getting that shot going and getting those two things, the catch and shoot, the off the dribble, getting those things to be a little more intertwined, less deviation between the two. So we'll see how he continues to progress on that side. But the Blazers are going to need him. And I think tonight's going to be one of those nights. No Malcolm Brogdon. You do have Ant in there. Do you do Scoot, Ant, and Shea? Do you start Ant and Shea at the 1-2 and continue to bring Scoot off the bench and integrate him in? Maybe get a little bit of a run with Scoot at point guard and Ant at shooting guard, and then sub out Ant, put Shea at shooting guard, let him get a run with Scoot so he gets a run with all the guys. Like, there's some interest there. There's some intrigue to see how that goes. But we will see because the Blazers have to get him going. Also, interestingly enough, again, with the bodies down and people who are getting run, Chris Murray did get a nice 21-minute run against Golden State. And I'd love to see him continue to get that tonight because I really like him. I think there's upside there. He's raw. Yes, he's an older rookie just because he spent so much time in college. But I do like what he brings. I think he can be a good two-way player, maybe a little bit better on the defensive end when it's all said and done. But I do want to see him get some run. Absolutely phenomenal. And again, the chat is popping off tonight. First off, again, the year 2023, I didn't think a show would be dominated by LaMarcus Aldridge. But then someone dropped a Quintel Woods in the chat. Like, Quintel Woods? What? It was Rachel, by the way. Longtime listener, longtime YouTube chatter. I was like, I feel like Robin Williams in Jumanji. Like, what year is it that I'm here? Rasheed Wallace, LaMarcus Aldridge, Quintel Woods, Brandon Roy dominating the chat. Oh, man, we would have killed the YouTube game back in 2012. Yes, we would have. Should have been on it a little bit earlier. have plenty of time under our belt. You guys are awesome, though. Chat's been popping off. I talk about the chat a lot on the show. So if you want to join that chat, the show's almost over, but we'll be back for the fifth quarter. Just go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio. We'll pop right up. Like, share, subscribe. Continue to increase our subscriber count. Get us up to that 1,000 number would be absolutely wonderful. And, of course, you can always call into the show, 503-248-0620. But this, like I said, many a time already tonight, it's going to be a test. It's going to be a real test for this Blazer team. Michael Shacker is on my screen over here, and he just gave me the 4, because we have 4 minutes left in the show, and we've been talking so much wrestling today. I like he kind of looked like Arn Anderson. I thought he was giving me the 4 for the 4 Horsemen. I was like, man, I just got wrestling on the mind at all times. Like Arn Anderson and the 4 Horsemen, absolutely beautiful.
So you're saying I look like Arn Anderson?
Hey, that's not bad. I mean, Arn Anderson looked like he was 60, but he's 30. There you go. Turn your mic off. You hear my echo. Like when Arn Anderson was in WCW, I honestly thought he was like in his 50s. And then you go back and you look like, no, Arn Anderson like just turned 60. Like he was in his 30s back when WCW was run and he was the big bald enforcer. Like those guys that back, like you look at like old pictures of Clyde Drexler. Like I see people post all the time, like this picture of Clyde, he was only 26. I'm like, what? Because every picture of Clyde Drexler looks like a 40-year-old basketball player. But nope, those old guys. People age different nowadays. Must be something in the water. I don't know what it is. But you did look a little bit like Arn Anderson. Me and you, like if you're Arn, I'm Ric Flair. We got to figure out who our other 2 4 Horsemen are, and what iteration of the 4 Horsemen. Are we going like good old school, or like the new version in WCW? Is Dwight the Godfather? Is he our Steve Mongo McMichael? Like you never know. You never know. Oh, man. Don't get me on a wrestling tangent, guys. Don't get me on a wrestling tangent. What are your keys to this game, though? Type them in the chat if you're over there chatting. And we'll get, don't forget that the fifth quarter will be on after this game. But, God, Luka's just too tough, guys. Luka's tough. If the Blazers get this game, he's probably still going to have a triple-double, right? That's the fact. You can't stop him. You can only hope to slow him down. And as I talked to the Godfather on the drive today, I think this game is actually really kind of fun for fans because I think Moda's going to be popping. Just the chance to see Anthony Simons back on the home court after so many games missed this season. It was nice to just see him get on the court in the first place, right? So seeing him at home tonight, I think the crowd's going to be great. I think it's going to be exciting. Can we give defense a high five? Shacker, can you get it? Shacker's like, oh no, he's trying. He's trying to get the high five sounder up. See, the high five sounder lives on a different board, and so you got to go in there and find it because you got the Blazers stuff set up. You got the Rip City Drive set up. He'll find a way to do it. He's a master producer. Cut me off with a high five. There it is. Ask and you shall receive, Fritz. Get the defense a high five. Let's give Bo Nix a high five if he's trying to get the Heisman. Plenty of Duck stuff to talk about. I'm jazzed. You got Heisman, you got football, and a big Blazer game tonight. You guys, you've been awesome. The chat, you guys were phenomenal today. Thanks for the great debate on LaMarcus Aldridge. I love when we can have a good, respectable debate. It is now time to go, though. 7 Nation Army means one thing. It means it is time for the Blazers pregame show. Curtis Long has you covered on that, and in about an hour's time, Blazers will tip off against the Mavericks right here on Rip City Radio. And, of course, don't go anywhere because when it's all over, I'll be right back here on the radio, on the app, and on YouTube with the fifth quarter. Come join the chat. It's been fun. I'll talk to you on the other side. And as Chad would say, show me your Blazer.